What I have here is a bit of an experiment. And right now, at this moment, I have no clue if this is gonna work or not. So we're gonna find out here together. Hey everybody, Kyle here with Spicer Designs. Welcome back to the channel. So today, I have a little bonus video for you, a little weekday action. Should be a Wednesday when I post this. And we're gonna be doing some experimenting. I don't know how this is gonna go. So quick little backstory just to get you guys familiar with exactly what the hell's going on here. It looks confusing. A while back, I did a sponsored video for Bluetti, and this is the Apex 300. This is their newest household backup system. It's a really nice unit. I've used it a couple times. Well, not this one because this one never worked. Basically what happened was I did the deal with Bluetti. They sent me the Apex 300. It kind of worked at first, and then it stopped working. It wouldn't even turn on. I couldn't charge it. It was completely dead, completely useless. They ended up sending me out another unit. Everything worked fine, and that was the one that I made the video on. So now I'm left with this one that didn't work. And I think this is the problem. It's about 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag right there. Actually, this is actually in the bag. What happens a lot of times when you see YouTubers or content creators doing power station videos, a lot of these power stations that they send to the YouTubers or content creators are beta models. They're units that have been tested and used already, then they just repackage them and they send them out to whomever, whatever channel it might be. In my case, me. So a lot of times they're not the actual production model that you would possibly buy after seeing one of these videos. And with that, you'll have some little bugs here and there. It's not uncommon at all. And that's probably the case with this unit right here. So my problem is I have this brand new unit that probably just has a very slight electrical issue somewhere in here. Maybe that, or maybe those. Definitely not those. I mean, those look amazing. Anyways, there's a pretty good sized battery in this thing, and what the hell am I going to do with this thing if it doesn't work? I can't throw it in the garbage. I mean, I could take it to a recycling center and have to pay to throw it away, but it's probably something really easy where this thing could still get used, and I could potentially give it to someone or sell it or use it myself. I mean, I don't know. I just hate to throw it away. I cut myself on this. So that's the deal with this mess here. Some of you guys may have seen this laying on the table in previous videos. I actually took this apart like probably 3 months ago. And at this moment right now, I also have no idea how to put it back together. So there's that too. Anyways, let me show you what I found and why I think the problem may be in this main board right here, which Bluetti sent me another one. So on the Apex 300 and most of these power stations, you're gonna have multiple little motherboards on them. This one right here is for all of like the DC inputs. So like these are our solar inputs. This connects to the battery. The batteries are right down below here in this compartment. And then over here is all of our high voltage stuff, or AC voltage right here. We've got our 50 amp plug, the 30 amp like RV outlet, and then this is like a charging port. And then right here, we have like our main motherboard. This is where all the action's at. And this is a question that I get a lot of times when I do different power station videos. I know people aren't a huge fan of power station videos. I personally do like them. I think they're useful. They are expensive. Basically, I got in touch with my contact at Bluetti, so it may not be the exact process that you would do if you had issues with your unit. And I know a lot of people think that some of these companies favor the content creators and give them like priority or special treatment. I'm sure in some cases that may be part of it. They immediately sent me out a new main control board for it. They must have had it on the shelf and ready to go. So that was kind of a good sign. I knew that I was able to actually get parts for this thing, but I'd imagine in a normal situation, you'd probably be sending the unit off to get repaired, or maybe they would just replace it and have you send the unit back. I'm not exactly sure. And to be honest, I really don't give a shit. That's something you'll just have to talk to Bluetti or whoever the manufacturer is. All right, I got my meter out here. Damn magnet. Another little backstory, how I got to the point of knowing that this may be the issue, is because I had the other Apex 300, I actually took that one apart too, and I was able to grab a bunch of different voltage references on different points throughout the whole unit. And I did find a difference right here on these two little sections of bus bar. That is where I kind of noticed the problem. So let me just start right there. This is like a 51 volt battery, I think, or something around there, 51 point something volts. If I put my meter on here, I'm backwards. I get a reference voltage of 2.53 volts DC. Once I put this on there, first let me just show you something. That little section of bus and that little section of bus right there, when I set this down, it's going to make contact with those 2 points, and you can see there's some threaded holes there. Put a bolt through here, and that's what makes those two connections. So once I just set this in place, and we're making contact now, I'm just going to show you. So now we're only at 0.2. Let me put a little more pressure. Yeah, when I made good contact, it went to straight up 0. When I lift it up, must have to build up a charge again or something. So it's slowly building up voltage again, and it'll eventually get back up to the 2.5 or whatever it was. So there must be some capacitors or something in here that are building up a charge. Now, for most of you that have been watching the channel for a while, a lot of you may not be interested in this video at all, but you guys know that I do have an electrical background. I've been a union electrician for 20 years. I am no longer working as an electrician. I'm a full-time YouTuber now. I have a lot of experience in troubleshooting all kinds of different stuff. Being an electrician and troubleshooting electronics and electrical components, there is a little bit of a separation there. It's not something that we commonly do, but I used to work in a lot of industrial environments, commercial environments, and for a long time, I worked in an air separation plant. And troubleshooting and motor control, PLC stuff, that was kind of like my specialty. So I know how to troubleshoot basically what I'm seeing and how I determine that this main board is the problem. Now, granted, I don't know exactly what component in here is the problem, and I don't really care to find out because that would take some time. I don't visibly see anything charred or blown apart or broken solder joints. Visually looks just fine. But when I make connection to those bus bars and it discharges that voltage down to 0, I know that there's something in this board that is shorting that out. And there was one point that I was troubleshooting where I could actually see a small arc. Again, it was shorting out. And the reason I know that it's not supposed to do that is because on the good unit, when I pulled it apart, I took a reference voltage with the board attached like I just did, and I was still getting like that 2.5 volts. So that is why I believe that is the problem. The next step is to just go ahead and install the new board and put it all back together and see if it works. And that's exactly what I'm gonna do, if I can remember how to do it. I'm guessing we're gonna have some extra parts. This goes over that. Hopefully you guys can see this. Oh, I got these all tangled up like an idiot. Well, this is a good sign. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw my meter on here. And you can see we're at 2.47. Put a little bit of pressure on there. We're making good contact and it's staying right there. So that's telling me that something on this new board is not shorting these out and we're holding voltage. I'm telling you, I think that was the problem. There's a chance I just got myself a job with Bluetti. I might be part of the team. This is a huge breakthrough. I'll tell you what, this is like basically the same stuff that NASA's doing. It's pretty complicated. If you don't care about the rest of the assembly, basically I'm just gonna be putting all the bolts and screws and all the little pieces back on. If you don't wanna see that and you just wanna see if this thing works, you can skip to that time right down there at the bottom of the screen and we'll plug this thing in or turn it on, whatever the hell we gotta do. It wasn't even turning on at all. The green light would just start flashing and flashing and flashing. Nothing happened. So anything beyond that is more than I was getting before. Otherwise, stick with me here and I can kind of show you how this thing all goes together in case you're curious. So first things first, we've got all these little screws right here. They're just Phillips and there's holes like here, 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 and they're just scattered all throughout that whole top piece. So I'm gonna go around and screw all those in. Now I have a bunch of these little hex bolts here, and these are gonna make up all of our bus connections. So I have one going in there, one going in there. That is the bus section that I was just referring to with all those voltage measurements. These two are already in. And then over there on the other side, all the 120, 240 volt stuff, it's gonna go in all these holes right here. And those connect all these little bus sections right down in here. Is there a torque spec to these? No clue. All right, so over on the same end we've been working on, we've got our solar inputs. This is where you're actually going to connect your external solar panels. And I believe this is another battery connection right here to link to the expansion batteries. And you've got these two little XT60 connectors, these tails. These are just going to plug in into these two ports. PV1 right there. And this is also labeled PV1. So that one's pretty self-explanatory. It's just gonna, thought I smelled something burning. That's just gonna plug in right there. I'm just waiting for something to explode. All right, now we have to put on this little protective, like isolation cover here. Just kind of protects the electrical components, weaves its way on here somehow. I gotta remember. There's a load of screws on top of there. All right, and this takes all these smaller little Phillips screws. They're silver. All right, I think we're good there. All right, the next piece we're gonna put on is the top of it. How in the hell? Well, I'm gonna get all the screws in on this top piece off camera. It's gonna take me a minute to remember where they all go, and then I'm gonna throw the back panel on here. There's nothing that connects to this, so these are just two empty panels essentially. But I do wanna show you how the 120 volt outlets connect to the Apex 300 and the two end panels where all of your different input and output ports are and your little cooling fans. We'll skip over to them right now. So if you remember, there was the two XT60 connectors for your solar inputs, and then there's that other little connector on the end there, kind of dangling out here. That one actually does plug into that main control board right there. So I'm just gonna tuck that one behind and plug it in. All right, nothing blew up, that's good. So I got the top piece on, the back piece, pretty self-explanatory. You're just putting screws in all over the place. The only other thing is there's these little handles right here, and these are bolted down separately with an Allen, and it's a long bolt. It goes all the way through here, and then the threads are somewhere in this area, and that is the grab handle. Those come off. And this is gonna be the same on each side. You see these two little connectors hanging off? Those go to the little cooling fans. And those are going to connect right there. There's 4 fans total. This must be 3 and 4 on this side. 1 and 2 must be on the other end. So this end is extremely easy. The only thing that we have to plug in are the fans. That is it. Because the ports are already in place. It's just a cover that exposes them. Got one. And we got, okay. There we go. And we also have this little grill for the fans. This just goes up, clips in, and then you get one little countersink screw right here. Now we're good. All right, we're clipping right along here. Battery expansion, XT60. Everything looks good. All right, this end a little bit more involved. We've got our 2 fans, and we've got 120 volt. This is for the charger. And then we have a ground that we have to hook up. I mean, it's not hard, it's just a little bit more involved than the other side. First things first, the ground. Good rule of thumb, first to make, last to break. That is what we were taught. Now for our 120 volt charging. So here's this end. They're gonna snake through. And there's a couple little spades. There's one right there. And the other one is hiding somewhere right back there. And they are both labeled line and neutral. And these are also labeled line and neutral. How do these go through? This got all jacked up. Stupid cover. What is happening here? Okay. Neutral. All right, those are connected. And now for our fans. Bingo. All right, all we have left is the front panel, which is where these 4 outlets are. This panel is actually pretty easy. Might be the easiest one. Then we can finally see if this thing works. It better, otherwise it's going to the scrapyard. All right, here is the last part of this. This has all of our controls. We can select what voltage we want, eco mode, turn the AC on for the outlets up here, and then you have your different modes for charging and our power button. That all comes through this little cable right here, And you can see there's another little board in the back. This cable just plugs in right there. Pretty easy. All right. That is the last thing that I had to connect. And then if you see these prongs right here, there's 4 of them. Those prongs will stab right in to the back of this cover. And then those are what plug into this. That is where they connect, right there. That's what supplies power to those 4 outlets. Not too bad. This piece just slides on. Okay. If I don't have any extra screws, I'm gonna be shocked. Next step, we're just gonna plug this in. And then we got all right, then all we have are these little rubber plugs, and those go in these holes right here. There's 6 of them. Just kind of makes it look a little better aesthetically. That's all it's really for. Moment of truth. I really don't know how this is gonna go. I think it's gonna work, but my luck, there's a really good chance that it's not gonna work, and this was a massive waste of time, and none of this video will ever get published. We'll see. Now, as soon as I turn this on, the first thing I'm gonna do is hook it up to my Bluetti app, and I'm going to do a software or firmware update on it, because whatever firmware is on this thing is probably outdated, and that in itself could cause some issues if you don't do it. So that's the first thing I'm gonna do. So what happened before is I would hit the power button and it would just start flashing green, and that was it. The screen never lit up, nothing happened. It did one time when I first got it, and then it just stopped. Here we go. Holy shit, it worked. And after 4 months or whatever it's been, it's still at 97%. That's pretty impressive. Okay, Bluetti, I am doing an update. Getting into my Bluetti app. I don't know what the hell my password is. I am connected. All right, we are finally hooked up. This thing works, and we're upgrading the firmware. This is huge because I thought this thing was garbage, and it is not. And with a little bit of troubleshooting and Bluetti getting me the parts that I needed, I was able to get this thing put back together. Now someone can actually use this thing. I think what I'm gonna do is give this to my neighbor. He's an older gentleman and he doesn't have any kind of backup power, so I think that this will be nice for him to have in case we do lose power. He can still hook his furnace up, some lights, whatever else he needs. He could just plug them right in, or I have some panels and stuff that I could maybe set up for him. I'm glad this isn't going to waste. All the updates are complete. We're at 97%. Charging mode, we're in silent. Voltage selector, we're in 120 volt. So the first test, I want to hook it up to the charger and make sure that this thing's gonna charge. I just heard a click. We are charging 507 watts. All right, we're at 509 watts of AC input. Let's see what happens when we go to auto. $1,400. That's a pretty big boost. I hate to go to turbo, but we kind of have to. Oh, it's at 100% already. Well, I guess we can't charge it anymore. So that's interesting. It was showing 97%, but it must have been basically fully charged. Let's plug something in and see if the AC output works. I've got a grinder and a heat gun. I think we could plug both of these in. The heat gun, oh no, that's got a button on it. It's been a while since I did the initial video where I went over, you know, this whole unit and all that. It looks like we've got 1920 watts available between these two, and the same thing between these two. So it's kind of like we have 2 circuits here. So right now I have the grinder in one and the heat gun in the other. All right, that is running, wow, 1200 watts. This one's going to be a little louder. Well, everything works as it should. Oh, that's what I smell, is that heat gun. I thought something was burning inside this thing. 238 volts. And, oh, this is 120. I don't know what the hell I'm thinking. 120. That is one more project crossed off the list. I was getting sick of looking at this thing scattered all over this workbench. And I was honestly kind of nervous that it wasn't going to work. I thought there was a really good chance it was that board, but there's a lot of components in there. I wasn't sure. So I'm really happy that that was the problem and that it's up and running and functional again and someone can actually use this thing, because in all reality, this thing is brand new. It's never been used before. Well, that's all I have for this one. I hope this video was helpful. I know all these power stations aren't the same, but maybe this will give you a better idea of, you know, what you can expect to see if you open one of these up. I wouldn't recommend doing this if you don't have any kind of experience in electrical components or electronics, because there is a lot of potential with the battery voltage where it could be bad. Not a project I would recommend for someone that's inexperienced. Basically, I'm not responsible if you burn your house down or hurt yourself. That's what I'm getting at. And I did present this video to Bluetti, and they were nice enough to sponsor this video, which helps out tremendously, especially with all the things I'm about to do in the shop out here. So thank you, Bluetti, for sponsoring this. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them. That's all I got for this one. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.